Hi there. What is a desk-based research and how does it differ from simply writing a long essay? I'm going to take you through how desk-based research should differ from simply writing a long essay and 4 ways it could. But first, what do we mean by desk-based research? Well, one definition is simply research that does not involve human participants. However, there is a grey area here. If you're doing a study where you yourself are going to be searching through primary data, such as policy reports, statistics, or newspaper articles, and so on, then you are, to my mind, already going beyond simply writing a long essay. You're already going out there to excavate through raw data in a way equivalent to doing interviews, questionnaires, or focus groups. Of course, before the very recent era of bibliographic digitization, you would have been more likely to be physically traveling and leaving your desk to find this information in faraway libraries and archives. However, if you're not going to be searching through raw data and you're simply doing a review of academic research literature on a topic, you perhaps should be considering this issue of what makes what you're doing a piece of research and not just an extended essay. I'm not saying that across the board, examiners will drop your grades if there's no difference between what you're doing and just an extended essay, but they may. You need to be clear on that within your own subject area. Certainly in my area, there is an issue here, and supposed research that is simply a long essay with no obvious research element is looked down on and could be busted when it comes to the marking. A bit like if you went to compete in the Olympic gymnastics and just did a series of roly-polies, because an essay means an attempt. Essay in French means to try. That's why with an essay, it's okay to just scramble around, pick up some facts on a topic and put some facts together to construct an argument about it. With research, it's a whole different concept. The idea is much more about the kind of analytical approach that is being used by you, the researcher. So, what are some examples of how what would otherwise just be a long essay could be given a research element? Here are 4 ways it could be done. Number 1, you make the subject of your research not the topic itself, but the academic literature around the topic. Let me explain. What this means is that if you are analysing not the topic itself, but how the ideas about the topic have been constructed, then you start asking a series of different questions. How, for example, have the authors made their arguments? What paradigms, framings, if you will, have they been using when discussing the topic? How has knowledge on the topic progressed over a particular period of time, be it, say, 20 years? Has there been a paradigm shift? Another question might be, what are the key debates? What are the dominant methods? And perhaps, how do they influence the findings? Are there any structural issues or problems that you can identify in the academic research literature? It's those kinds of questions that put the word systematic into the phrase systematic literature review. Without such questions as those, how is the review systematic? It's not systematic just because you wrote one section on one part of the topic and another section on another part of the topic. You do that in an essay. So let me repeat here that you're not using the academic literature here as a kind of encyclopedia, which is what most students do when they write essays. Instead, you're turning a critical focus on the literature itself. So that's number one. Number two is to compare two groups of academic research studies that differ, perhaps in one key way. For example, it could be studies on a particular topic done with American participants versus studies done on the same topic with British participants, or American authors versus British authors if there happens to be a clear difference of approach between the two. Alternatively, it could be, for example, the way that moral philosophers approach the issue of punishment versus political philosophers. Here, you'd compare the literature in moral philosophy on punishment with the literature on punishment in political philosophy. This second option is exactly the same as number one in terms of turning the focus on the academic research literature itself, instead of just using the academic research literature as a kind of encyclopedia. Number three, instead of surveying the entire literature on a topic, you could do an in-depth comparison across 4, 5, or 6 seminal texts in your chosen topic area. Probably in most topic areas, these would normally be books. For example, if you were looking into the issue of poverty or inequality, one of your books could be Miseducation by Diane Ray. Another example of a book that could be used in such a project is The Spirit Level by Richard Wilkinson and Kate Pickett. In this option, number three, similar to number one, you are comparing how the problem has been framed differently by the different authors, how they may have different conclusions, different methods, also how they may cast each other in a different light. Do we look differently on one of these great books when we see it against a backdrop of the other great books on the topic? Indeed, are the various authors explicitly in conversation with each other? Do the later books reference back to the earlier books? And if so, how? So the focus here would be on intertextuality, meaning how the texts connect with each other. Finally, number four, the fourth approach would be to treat the project as a conscious experiment in method or theory. For example, surveying an academic research literature consciously and consistently through a Bourdieusian or Foucauldian framework. Another example is if you are producing historical research, showing your self-reflexive awareness of your use of narrative as you are going along. This could be done by referencing narratological theory. Right, so I've been through with you 4 possible ways that your desk-based research might differ from simply writing a long essay. I may think of others that are worthy of notes, in which case I may do a sequel to this video. In the meantime, we have these 4 possible options. Number 1, deconstruct the key issues in the academic literature on the topic, their key paradigms and arguments. Number 2, compare 2 groups of studies that differ in some important way. Number 3, construct the project as a kind of extended book review, comparing probably at least 4, maybe up to 6 seminal works on the topic of your choice. Number 4, show conscious, self-reflexive awareness. That's number 4, isn't it? And framing your study, your analysis, as a case study in a particular theoretical or methodological approach. Those are 4 possible avenues to take. And so, what is desk-based research and how does it differ from simply writing a long essay? I hope this video has served to help you in thinking about that issue further.